Queen Elizabeth II's letters relating to a divisive Australian constitutional crisis have been ordered to be released today, and the historically significant documents could have far-reaching implications. The Queen's political neutrality is a cornerstone of the monarchy. However, an Australian researcher has won legal battle today to access Her Majesty's correspondence relating to one of the most controversial moments of Australian political history. The Australian High Court has ordered that letters between Her Majesty and the Australian Governor-General who controversially dismissed a Prime Minister are to be made public. The documents have been sealed until now, and could answer contentious historical questions over the monarch's potential influence in the politics of Australia. The letters relate to a period of Australian history known as the dismissal. The 1975 episode has been described as the greatest political and constitutional crisis in Australian history, and one of its most divisive and corrosive episodes. Prime Minister Gough Whitlam was dismissed by Governor-General Sir John Kerr, who then commissioned the leader of the opposition Malcolm Fraser as caretaker Prime Minister. The Governor-General is the Queen's representative in Australia, and so his actions called into question the impartiality of the monarch. The dismissal of Whitlam sparked protest demonstrations in Australia, and demands for the Queen to restore him as Prime Minister. The outrage the Australian public felt over the Governor-General's actions went on to spur the Republican movement in the country. It also had ramifications for the UK's political landscape just last year when debate over whether Her Majesty could intervene in the dismissal of a Prime Minister was raised, when Boris Johnson faced the possibility of a vote of no confidence in Parliament. Australian historian Dr. Jenny Hocking launched a legal action to gain access to the letters to further her research into the dismissal, and ascertain how far if at all the palace had intervened in Australian politics. Her previous work indicates that Prince Charles, himself tipped for the post of Australian Governor-General in the 70s, sent letters about the crisis. Previously, the Australian National Archives deemed the material personal communication. This meant that they would have only been subject to release in 2027, and even then only with the Queen's permission. However, the Australian High Court has now ruled the documents Commonwealth property. Australian outlet SBS News reported today, the judgment handed down on Friday comes after a legal battle by historian Jenny Hocking, who says keeping them secret only fuels public distrust. She says the archive must now release them immediately. Dr. Hocking said, "I would be horrified if they did deny access, given the 4-year legal case. Even cabinet records, the most confidential records of government, are released after 20 years. Unless it has the Queen's medical details in it, you would expect them to be released." Dr. Hocking's research has already uncovered Prince Charles' involvement in the crisis, when in 2015 she unearthed a 1975 letter from the Prince of Wales to Governor-General Kerr. She claimed in her book, The Dismissal Dossier, that Kerr had been worried Prime Minister Whitlam might revoke his appointment as Governor-General, in order to prevent his own dismissal. However, Charles reportedly reassured him, "But surely, Sir John, the Queen should not have to accept advice that you should be recalled at the very time when you were considering having to dismiss the government." Kerr's concern was then said to have been conveyed from Charles to the Queen's private secretary, Sir Martin Charteris. Sir Martin then wrote to Kerr and told him that should this contingency arise, the Queen would try to delay things for as long as possible. Later, the Prince of Wales is said to have written to Kerr conveying his moral support. He reportedly urged Kerr not to lose heart in the face of domestic hostility. Writing in 2015, Dr. Hocking said, "By entering into this communication with Kerr over his own position, and agreeing even to consider a means of delaying it, the palace had interposed itself directly into matters of Australian politics."